Hi, this is Jana Antoni from Empower Your Mind, your life beyond ordinary. Welcome to the Spanglish Word Networks on Zingo TV channel 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. And while you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. This app is free. And Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs from 2016 forward. So today, I have the honor and the great pleasure to welcome here an elite Neuro-Encoding specialist, a mom of 5, wow, already here, a former teacher, and overall, my dear, dear friend, Barbie Lebaron. Thank you. Welcome, and so honored to welcome you here.
Thank you, Jana. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you for your time. I hope you are doing great today because you look awesome.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Likewise.
So, to help understand our audience, first tell us something about yourself, about your background, and how do you find your way towards your passion to help people as a neurocoding specialist?
So, for me, growing up, my biggest dream was to become a mother, and I joined the Neuro-Encoding Institute because I was looking for answers because I was going through some challenges with some of my children, and I joined it with the thought, if all I do is improve as a mother and learn some tools that can help me better coach my children and be a better mother for them, then it'll be worth it if that's all I get from it. And so that was my biggest intention with joining it. I've definitely seen results. I've applied a lot of the tools that I've learned, and I've had a lot of great results with my kids. And also I started working with clients and also have helped them get results. And so, yeah, I'm so grateful for everything that I've learned and how much I've grown from it, so yeah.
And I can see every time when we connect together, I can see your growth. So yes, it's amazing. Yeah. And today we will be talking about parenting. And because I know you, and because maybe lots of moms want to be a perfect mom for their children. Like they just don't allow themselves to make a single mistake, and if they do, they just punish themselves and beat themselves up. And what I like to talk about with you, because you are also a perfectionist, right? And the goal of parenting is certainly not to be a perfect man. We can't be perfect human beings. So how can you be perfect mom or dad or parent? So the purpose of this call, of this interview, or this our conversation today is not how to be a perfect parent, is how to be a good parent, right?
Yes.
So what did you find out? Or tell us about your journey towards this elevation. Right.
Yeah, so for me, I actually was working with a coach, with a mentor, and I realized that I was really critical with myself. And I've learned that whatever we focus on is what we're going to create more of. So if I'm focusing mostly on my faults and on my mistakes and on my imperfections, then that's the state I'm going to be in. And so I'm only going to be creating more of that. Yeah. And like I said, one of my biggest goals was I wanted to be a good mom, and I remember my first child was born extremely premature. She was born at 25 weeks. And so her chance of survival was not very high. And they also told me if she did survive, she may have some disabilities. Yeah. And I remember when she was born, praying and just asking God to please give me the opportunity to be her, like to have her and to be able to raise her. And I remember praying to him and telling him, please give me this and I will be the best mother in the world. Anyhow, I've gone through challenges, through, like obstacles like we all do. And I would go back and think of that promise I made, and I felt like I wasn't always the best that I expected myself to be. So
it's a lot of, that's a lot of pressure you put on yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so speaking with my coach and my mentor, she asked me one day, she said, are you a good mother? And when she asked me like that, then I thought about it and I was like, yeah, like I actually am. And she said, what makes you a good mother? And I said, well, I love my kids more than anything in the world. And I'm like, I'm the areas where I'm struggling, well, I'm trying to find answers, and I'm growing and learning myself. Anyhow, she helped me see and shift my focus to what I was doing good, and to focus more on the areas that I'm doing good and that are serving me, that are working for me. Because like I said, whatever we focus on, we're going to create more of. And of course, the areas where we need it to improve, then it's important to be aware of them, because the only way we're going to improve is with awareness. But focus on it enough to know, okay, something needs to shift, but then what am I going to do about it? And focus more on where you want to go versus where I'm at. So making that mindset shift for myself has made all the difference. I feel like I know I'm a good mother. I love my kids more than anything in the world. And like we said, yeah, I have my challenges, my weaknesses, but that doesn't define who I am as a mother. So yeah, focusing on.
It's a beautiful thing what you just said. We make all failures in our life, and the failures it just doesn't, they don't define us, right? The failures don't just define us. It's a beautiful thing that you said. And let's just take a minute and give our audience who is listening to us or watching to us just something to do. I can imagine that lots of moms, when we are speaking now about moms, they really are focusing on what they are doing wrong. Right? Oh, I missed this performance of my child. I yelled at my child because I was stressed out from the work, and I didn't do the food right or on time, or whatever it is. I'm pretty sure that lots of moms, they are beating themselves up for what they didn't do right? So how, or would you have some kind of exercise for them, or some tool or something? How can they shift this focus to more to see they are really good parents? What do they do for their children? Only if there's only being like present for them, right?
Yeah. So yesterday I actually just completed a 12-week coaching program with one of my clients. And something that she told me, because I asked her, so on a scale from 1 to 10, where are you right now from when we started? And it had to do with her children, and she has a preteen that she had been having some challenges with. And it actually gave me the chills when she shared this with me, especially because of the call you and I are doing right now today.
Yeah.
And she told me, she said, I feel like I'm at a 10 with her daughter.
Wow.
And
That's
I was
amazing.
like,
that's the
really?
top.
Yeah. And then she told me, she's like, and I'm not perfect. She said, but I've been able to acknowledge what I'm doing right. And she said, and I've been able to start focusing on on the good that I'm doing versus where I was lacking or not doing good. And she said that that made all the difference for her.
Yes.
And one thing is that I think is really important is connection before correction, you know. And that was one for me was I have a son that a few years back I realized that there was no connection between us. Like there was as a young child, you know, there was a lot of connection, a lot of love. And then he became a teenager, and we were at an event, a youth program that we do for teenagers, and an activity, an exercise that we did. Then it was to go tell as many as people as possible something that you loved or appreciated about them. So I went to want to tell my son what I loved and appreciated about him, and I noticed every time I got close to him, he would move away. Like he was like avoiding me. And so finally I got to him and I said, "Hey, stop." And then I told him, and all he said to me was, "Okay." But he didn't say nothing back. He was just like, "Okay." And in that moment, I was like so shocked. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like there's just no connection with my son." So I set out, I was like, "Hey, well, I need to improve this and better my connection with my son." And anyways, one thing I learned, one of the best ways to create more connection is through showing an interest in something that they're interested in. And so his thing was chess. He loves playing chess, and he's really good at it. I'm not that good at it, but I was like, "Hey, well, that's going to be an area where I'm going to try to come in and create more connection with him." So I did. He's always like trying to get someone to play with him. I was like, "I'll play with you." And then also something I learned was quality time. It's like if you spend, even if it's just 10 minutes of quality time with each one of your children in doing something that they're interested in. And so I started doing that, and it made a big difference. So
yeah, and you transition. You did a very, very quick transition to the topic I wanted to talk about. This is the teenage age, and in our circles, we in the neuroscience, there's we know that a brain is going through immense changes during the teenage age, right? The child age is very big, very strong connection to mother, especially mother to parents, as a safety harbor. And when they transition to the teenage age, there are not only like biological changes in the brain, but also there is a natural detachment from parents because they are looking for their own identity, and they are attaching to groups and to other social areas in their lives. So the disconnection, what happens in this teenage age, it's practically normal, right? It's something natural. And we were talking about the focus. What should mothers focus on to instead of beating themselves up? And that could be this, if I understand it correctly, it could be one area of focus on connection to your child, right? Either in small age or even more in this teenage age. Is it what I'm hearing from you?
Yeah. And for example, if there's one thing I've also learned is, like I said, I went through some challenges with my son, and as he's entering in his teenage years, and I didn't understand so good how to go about it and how to deal with it in the correct way. And one thing is I learned is how important respect, you know, like respect them. And also I noticed that I had the tendency to want to control, like, you know, his behavior and his, you know. And I realized that the more I tried to control, the more resistance I got from him. And So when I realized this, the thing is he went through like a video game addiction. And so a lot of times we try to control because of a fear that we have of what their outcome's going to be if something doesn't shift, right? And so I went to a course that talked about parenting. And when this course is completed, the man who gave the course, he's a therapist, and he offered that he was going to be doing sessions for a couple weeks, you know. So I went up to him and I said, and I thought, I need to take my son to him because, like he needs to work with somebody. So I went up to him and I said, I'm struggling with this with my son. I don't know how to deal with it. And I need to bring him to you. And he told me, no. He said, you don't need to bring your son. You need to come. And when he told me that, I broke down crying because I was like, I don't know, it just hit me. But I thought, you know what, he's right. And I went to him, and what I realized is the truth is all we have control over is changing ourselves. And I realized that I had no control of changing or shaping my son into who I thought that he should be. All I could control was who am I being to my son. And when I learned this and I went into to practice it and to apply it, I realized that sometimes just changing ourselves changes everything. And ultimately that is the only area of control that we have. And of course, and this can mean learning to set boundaries. It can mean, setting different standards, expectations, but boundaries in the sense of, okay, this is not in a sense of I'm going to shape you. It's like, hey, this is the consequence if you cross this boundary.
Restriction,
right? Yeah. And anyways, for me, with my son, I just set certain boundaries and I quit trying to control him. And then also another thing that to me made a big difference was sometimes our kids get it from somebody else, like a message more than from us. Like I was having a difficult time reaching my son, and I reached out to some friends and I just said, hey, if there's anything you can do, I'm struggling in this area. If there's anything you can do to support me, just throwing it out there, And one of them, he put in just giving my son attention and making him feel like he was somebody.
Making him seen and understood and here and just visible, right?
Yeah, and it made all the difference for him. And but yeah, my
gosh, I have so many thoughts about all you just said. I don't know where to go. I want to say, yeah, you the only thing we have control over is ourselves. And when we change us, everything around us will change. This is the Mahatma Gandhi that said, if you want to see the change in the world, start by yourself, right? You need to change yourself. And if you push them, they push even harder back. And it applies not only to the relationship of mother and child, but also in the marriage or relationship between men and women, right? And this is such a, you said something I wanted to elaborate a little bit further. It's like, where is it? Just there is a difference between setting boundaries and controlling. Right? There is a significant difference. And something you said I love about is the respect. Like we demand for everybody to respect us, right? From our boss and friends and our own parents, our own mother often, daughters and mothers, right? And that what we often forget is the respect to our children, because we think, okay, they are children, they need more guidance, they need more control, we need to provide them safety, right? And we just don't realize that with all that, with the all control, we don't respect them as a human being. as their own personality, right? So set boundaries with the respect, yes, but don't control them. So can you just how to do that?
Yeah, so for me, with my son in particular, with that situation, like I said, he was addicted to video games, and I knew something had to shift. But in my attempt to just try to put a stop to it and control it, it was making him just angry and
Right.
wanting to do it more. So I set some boundaries, and I said, if you and I realized if I just cut it completely, it was going to create more anger and resentment from him towards me.
And he would search more, right? He would look even more for the video games, right?
Yeah. So I just said, and also prior to becoming addicted to video games, he was very active. He was very into sports, soccer, and he was like had all his friends. And then he went through this phase and became very antisocial, became very sedentary, like didn't do sports.
Right.
And he was eating a lot of like sugars and, and anyways, I had done the Dr. Amen's course and then the Neuro-Encoding. So I thought, okay, how can I apply this? So I set some boundaries and I said, you can have this amount of time to play video games as long as you come through with these responsibilities and you get a minimum of 30 minutes of activity a day. And then I also incentivized him to get off sugar. And I said, if you get off sugar, I did it with all my kids. I said, if you guys get off sugar for the next 2 months, I'll give you whatever amount of money. And he was the only one of my kids that followed it through. And this was about 2 years ago. Anyhow, so I started taking him. I walk a mountain trail every day. So I started taking him with me. I was like, hey, well, you got to come walk with me. And he did. And when I first started taking him, he was like super slow. Like I had to wait for him when I finished it because he was like really slow. And once he completed the 2 months of being off sugar and I paid him the money that I said I'd give him if he did the challenge, then he on his own said, Mom, if I continue to stay off sugar, would you give me 30 more minutes to play video games? So when he said this and I weighed out the consequences of both, I said, yes, I think it's better for his brain if he stays off sugar. And, he keeps trying to buy more time anyway. So yeah, we can do that. Anyhow, on that note, it's been about 2 years and he doesn't play video games as much anymore. And he is back in soccer and he's running, he's exercising, whatever he does, but he's trying to build muscle. And he's been off sugar since then. Like he hasn't even gone back because he's realized what a difference it's made. And another thing that I did with him was I learned from the Neuro-Encoding about interrupting patterns. Right. And when I would drive him to school daily, then he was really quiet. He was super quiet, wouldn't hardly talk to me. And I was like myself having a difficult time creating conversation and this, and so one day I remember something that I learned with Joseph and I thought, I'm just going to try it. I thought I'm going to just try a pattern interrupt. So, and the thing is a pattern interrupt, as you know, Jana, it creates a scotoma, which is a blank space, and so if we create that scotoma, that blank space, then we can put something in.
Yes.
So one day I'm driving him to school and he had one of his earbuds on, listening to music, and I shouted out his name. I yelled his name a little loud and it a little bit startled him. He goes a little bit shocked and then he's like, what? And I looked at him, put a big smile on my face, and I said, I love you. And that's all I did. And he looked at me like I was weird, and he's like, you're weird. And just put his earphone back on. Anyways, I did this every day. And I always did it in a different spot so he wouldn't get the
right.
But I began doing this every day that I drove him. And it sounds so simple and maybe ridiculous, but it was a game changer for me with my relationship with my son, because it started like to where he was almost waiting for it. So then I would like say it and I would smile and I'd say, I love you. And then he would just start laughing. He's like, I knew you were. And anyways, it turned into kind of like just a game. But I feel like it gave me that room to let him know, I love you, to make him laugh, and to create room for more conversation,
Right.
And yeah, anyways, that was one
That's so
thing.
beautiful. I love the story. It's so amazing. So this could be some a manual for all parents who are now listening. Just create the pattern interrupt, and pattern interrupt is everything you do. Is everything you do to change the flow of the thought, the state you are in. It could be you can shout out a name. It could be a clap in your hands. It could be a snap in your fingers. It could be anything. It could be just pointing out, look, the birds there. And as soon as you do that, this is the place you told escatoma. This is a blank spot in your brain, and this is some kind of a vacuum. And you have this second or 2 second top to put into the space whatever you want. So that's a beautiful, lovely story. Lovely story. So when we are talking about, I want to go back because you said also something great about how did you manage to change the behavior, the addiction of your son with the video games. Like you stopped to tell him what he needs to do and what he does not need to can't do, etc. You just like gave him some kind of freedom, some kind of choice, and you gave him this responsibility, right? And accountability. And that's what I'm seeing as I was a teacher. That's parents are like some kind of afraid to give their children a responsibility because they think they are just children. They can't take it. They can't have a responsibility, right? And what we heard from you is actually the right way to go, to give him the freedom to acknowledge them as they are able to take responsibility, right?
Yeah, absolutely. To me, I think responsibility was something that I learned as a young age. And my grandma taught me this. And I remember her saying that responsibility is your ability to respond.
Right.
So if we can take responsibility and teach our children to take responsibility, then it gives them the ability to respond, to create something, different. And so that's for sure something that I work towards with my children is letting them deal with the natural consequences of their choices and taking responsibility for them, and I also think that it's I'm sorry.
I wanted just to say, like everything you do in life, there are consequences for every act you do, either good or bad. They are not they're always good or good and bad, but there are always consequences, right? So
yes, absolutely. And one thing that I also is, I try to teach them, take responsibility and be accountable for your choices and learn from them. Learn from we all make mistakes, and so learn from them. And I feel like correct the behavior and redirect it, and don't shame the child. So that's been something that for me, I'm like, I don't ever want to shame my child because that's not a good state for them to be in. So it's like, for me, it's like, yeah, you're responsible, but take away the shame,
yes.
So yeah.
Yes, when we often as a parent we won't just correct their behavior or we won't even correct them, right? We don't look at them like as a human beings. We just treat them as children with no wisdom, with not knowing things, with not being able to to take responsibility, to be autonomous, you know.
Yeah.
And we just are trying to correct them, and this is definitely the wrong way. So I would say correct, yes, but behavior, and but not them.
Yeah. So I think that, like, something that I've learned is when when we have a poor behavior or make a poor choice, then it's natural for us to feel like, say, have some sort of guilt, because that's what's going to guide us to, hey, like, our conscience kicks in and to redirect us, right? So,
Right.
but the difference, like, I feel like guilt is the behavior or the choice I made was wrong, and shame is I'm wrong as a person.
Right.
And
Well,
so to me,
I hear the Brené Brown.
exactly, yeah, I got that from her. I love Ray Brown.
Yes.
But so for me, I'm so grateful that I learned that, because in some difficult situations that I've had, I've been able to differentiate that. Like,
Yes.
you're responsible, and take
Yes.
responsibility. And also, I'm not shaming you. In other words, you're not, like, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
So, and that's how we learn. So,
Yeah. And when I said correct behavior, I mean there are ways how you can do that. Either, which for me personally is the wrong way, to tell them and to blame them and to do, you didn't, you did it wrong, or you didn't have to do that, or whatever. And the other way is, as you said, just to create an opportunity to learn from it. Like, ask question. Okay, what did you do? What is the result? Okay, it's not the result you wanted, or is everybody happy? If it's somebody happy, okay, what would you do the next time? To make it better. So create, just go to this conversation, ask the right questions, and give them space and opportunity to learn from them what they did, even if it's a wrong behavior at this kind of situation, right?
Yeah, and then also it goes back to the same thing what we were saying at the beginning, as a parent, to focus more on what we're doing good, because whatever we focus on, we're going to create more of, and it also applies to our children. In other words, instead of focusing on say their weaknesses, like, put more of a focus on what's great about them, what they're doing great, and acknowledge them for that. And if there's something that I've learned in the Neuro-Encoding, is how important praise and celebration is. And so that's been a game changer for me also, is to whatever we're looking for, we are going to find it. So if I'm looking for what they're doing wrong and what I need to correct, I'm going to find that. And if that's where my focus is going to be, then I'm going to probably find more. I'm going to find more of that. So it's like, what do I want to focus on? What kind of parent do I want to be? And whatever we focus on, if it's going to create more of that, then I want to focus more on, okay, what are they doing good? What's great about them? And recognize them and acknowledge them for that, because then that will make them, want to do more of it also.
More. Yes.
And another thing is to let them overhear you talking good about them to somebody else, but like, not in a flattery way. It's like, just like, I do that as much whenever I have the opportunity. Like, I'll just share, hey, yeah, my child did this and it was amazing, or I'm so proud of them because of this. And they, to where they just overhear me telling somebody, and I don't know, I just feel like that's made a difference.
Yes, and that's amazing that you said it. I never thought about that, but there's a really power in it. What I remember when I was a child was only hearing complaints about me when my parents were talking to adults. That's only complaints, right? And it's just children. I remember I didn't like to hear that. I was so ashamed. I was so ashamed. So yeah, that's true. Just watch the language when you are talking to other people and your kids are present, and this everything impacts the soul of the kids, of
Yeah,
the child,
absolutely.
right?
And the truth is, going back to what you said, if you heard things that were negative about you and you said you felt ashamed, that didn't make you feel good. You know,
Yes.
and everything we do in life, we do it because of
Sure.
a feeling. Like our feelings move us to either act or not act. So if a child feels good, they're going to do good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. So
So
simple it is, right? When a child, so simple it is, and I would say it impacted my character, you know, my struggle, my mental struggle. I just were over the years to my adulthood. Not only one event, of course, there are many of them, but yes, and what you said is just so right. Like when you speak to children to create a bad feeling in them, create a guilt or a shame or anger, whatever, the reaction of each child could be different. I was shutting down and withdrawing, but there are kids, they will push back and they will seek boundaries. They may go to the violence, they may go to the addiction, whatever kind. They may go to self harm. You know, so there, just really be aware what language you use and what you focus on, right? And what I because you know when I started this journey as well, I heard a lot, this change the focus, etc. What was really game changer for me is to connect it to the brain, and what I think is very important, what just you said, is that what you are looking for, your brain will go there, and what your brain will find, right?
yeah.
And this is the thing, just to remember, when you are looking for somebody, if it's your kid, your husband, or somebody else, if you are looking for blaming somebody, if you are looking for what this or that person did false, you always find something, always.
Mhm.
What you
Yeah.
are looking for, your brain will find. So if you are looking for something good, if you are really, if you love your child, you will always find something that's lovable in that
Yes,
child, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
guess
And
you would know about it. Yeah.
yeah, one thing too that I've like to keep in mind is any behavior that we want to see more of in our child, celebrate it every
Right.
time. You know, so anything you want more of, celebrate it and praise it.
Yeah.
And because that will create more of that. That will make them
Yeah.
want to do more of that.
Yeah.
So
We know it releases the dopamine in the brain, right? The happiness hormone. I would add, even celebrate with them, teach them that they celebrate themselves, so they don't get dependent on outer word celebration, right? They
mhm.
just teach them
Exactly.
also
Yeah.
how they also do not go only celebrate for them, but celebrate with them. Teach them how to celebrate themselves, how to see them self growing, and but don't make this mistake between telling your child how great the child is. So celebrate the growth and the achievement
Yeah.
and progress, not
Yeah.
the person, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Do not create
Yeah, the
this
behavior.
person.
Yeah, for sure.
It could be going off our hands, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So we were talking about how to be a good parent, not a perfect one. How to connect with a teenager, and you were talking about the quality time also, especially I would say especially with teenagers. And it
Mhm.
just remembered me on Dr. Daniel Amen, because he was talking about quality time. Can you elaborate more, so everybody can hear what does it mean, the quality time? And especially you have 5 children. That's a lot, you know, and there are parents that are both working maybe full time, and they may we have only 2 or 3 kids, and finding a quality time could be really challenging for them.
Yeah, I agree. And when I first heard this and I started applying it, then it was recommended, like with every child, minimum 10 minutes a day. And I don't think that's always realistic. So I just, I thought I'm going to just do it as like have that in mind and apply it as much as possible. And it's easier when they're smaller than when they're teenagers.
So,
Yeah,
you can play with them like games, right?
Yeah. So, for example, I have one daughter that she loves to walk, and I walk every day. So I invite her on walks, and I feel like that's something that she likes to do, and it's something that I like to do, and it gives us that connection, So that's one area with her. And my youngest daughter, then she likes to play board games. She likes to color. So I just, and I don't do it every day, but I do it at least a couple times a week where I'll sit down and just play a board game with her, play cards or read to her, color. And one of my boys likes to play basketball. So sometimes, I'll just come outside and just shoot a few hoops with him. But mostly, I've been just trying to like prioritize more as much as possible that to participate more in the areas that they're interested in. Like, for example, one of my boys is in basketball. So it's like, if he has to go to competitions, I can't always take him, but whenever I see that it's possible and I can take him myself, then I'll take him and his friends.
Right.
And also, sometimes I just out to lunch, or like I said, one of my boys, he likes playing chess. So sometimes I'll just sit down and play a chess game with him. And it's not even so long. It might take 10 minutes, And anyhow, it's just trying to, but most of all, from my understanding is that moment is about them. It's not about correcting. It's not about, it's just about enjoying that time with them.
Right. And you just said a lot of things. So I will try now to to get to all the points. So what I heard you, and because I know that Dr. Amen's teaching as well, so I just sum it up, but correct me please if I get something wrong. Equality time with your kids doesn't need to involve like a whole hour, half an hour. You can start 10 minutes with your kids, and don't overthinking. Don't prepare some activity. Just don't stop yourself because you are overthinking or making something up or pushing yourself to find something out what to do. Just ask them, because one important aspect, the most important aspect is to do what they want. And if you have no idea, just ask them. Know what I just approach them with, hey, I would love to spend the time with you, and we will do anything. Like, we have 10 minutes today, and we do anything you want to do. Like, there are no rules, there are no boundaries. We can do everything you do. So this is the second most important thing you said. It's about them, right? So don't put another rules, because they have all their lives is about rules in the school, rules at home, and rules in the sports club, whatever they are, right? So this could be like a completely free time where your child is in the center, and you are. So this is what we mean with quality time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That could be a
and
changer.
Mostly being like present with them.
Right.
And like, there's times like I'll take individual, like one of them, just out to lunch, and many times, like, one of my boys, when I take him, he wants to be on his phone. And so I'll just tell him, hey, like, disconnect so we can connect, And I'm like, even if we're in silence, let's be present with each other. Yes. And, when I first started doing this with him, he'd get a little bit like annoyed because he wants to be on his phone. And I would just tell him, just not like just, hey, this is important to me. I want to have that connection, that presence with you. And so, and it makes a difference, And then another thing is, sometimes I find it difficult to know how to create conversation with my kid, or to, and one thing I started doing is, and it actually turned out fun, is one day I took all my kids out to lunch, and I told them, I pulled out Pinterest and I got on questions to ask kids or something, and they were silly questions, but I just started asking these questions, and it turned out like they were all laughing, and so I don't know. I try to get creative and how to create more connection with them. One more thing that comes to mind, just going to share, and I learned this from Zig Ziglar years ago, is he said something that was really important is how you start your day and how you end your day. That it has a big impact on the in-between time.
In between.
So if we can start our day on a good note with our kids and then end it on a good note, that makes all the difference. So
yes. And that would be a wonderful footnote. So I hope a lot of people heard that so beautiful strategy and tips. But I have the last burning question. We have only 4 minutes, but I hope you can give me a quick answer. We were talking about this quality time with each kid individually. How do you make also to seal a whole family all together? Do you do also something where the whole family is involved, like all 5 kids and your husband?
Yes, absolutely. Honestly, now that most of them are teenagers and adults, it's a little more challenging to get everyone together because everyone has their own interests. So it definitely, I feel like the more I can create like dinners together, like I always do waffle Saturday. That's one of our little rituals, traditions. Waffle Saturday. And then usually we try to do at least Sunday. All of us have lunch together. And it doesn't happen every Sunday because sometimes they want to go with their friends. But that has been something that I, as much as possible, is to create family meals together.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you can do that once a day, that's great. And honestly, like for me, it doesn't work once a day anymore because everyone's on different schedules, but I at least try to do it 3 times a week. And I also have little traditions that I've created with my kids. For example, on their birthdays, I wake them up every birthday with a birthday song. It's called Las Mañanitas, Mexican song. And that's our little ritual where my husband and I just every morning, every birthday that they have, we wake them up, dance that song with them. And so, yeah, creating, like rituals, traditions that are just uniquely yours.
Create tradition. Yeah, create a family tradition. That's a beautiful way. It can be anything. And we, I heard your router all over the interview. So it's so funny to hear your rooster outside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have like 50 roosters.
Yes, we can continue to go on and on because what I was also interested in to know how to create a relationship between siblings, especially when there are so many. But unfortunately, we have not enough time anymore. So is there something you would like to say to all parents now? And if there are parents, they would like to connect with you, ask for help or advice, where can they find you?
So I think the strongest energy in the world is love. So when all else fails, just love them. And anyhow, you can find me on Instagram, Barbie Lebaron, and Facebook. I have my husband's name on my Facebook page, so sorry about that. But on Facebook, Barbie Arriola. And yeah, anyways,
it's beautiful. Otherwise, you can connect with me, or we will put the contact on the comments below the video once it's finished. So thank you very much, Barbie, for this beautiful time we spent together. It was amazing.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope also everybody else has enjoyed it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jana.
So this show can be also heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out http://spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thank you very much.